Hello, we're just going to wait a minute or two for a few more people to join, but thank you for joining. So we did get quite a few people registered, so we'll just wait a moment or two for a few more people to join and start very soon. Thank you. Okay, I think we should start now. We may well get a few more people joining, but it's a couple of minutes afterwards, so let's kick off. I'm Ben Lefevre, one of the proposition owners here at Sabio, and PCI Compliance sits with me. I'll shortly hand over to Alan, who will run through a presentation and a demonstration that will last around 35 to 40 minutes. But by way of an introduction, Sabio's been working with Semaphone for more than 5 years now, helping our contact center clients to achieve PCI compliance on payments taken over the phone through Semaphone's patented DTMF masking solution. But today, Alan is going to talk through a new service that enables remote workers to generate secure payment links and send them to a caller via any communication channel. So during the call, you can ask questions in the questions window. I'll be monitoring that window and making sure that we're addressing those questions as we go. Any questions missed, we'll pick up at the end. So Alan, over to you.
Cool, thank you very much, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Alan Watson. I'm the Pre-Sales Engineering Director at Semaphone. And as Ben says, we're going to spend about half an hour, 35 minutes going through what's referred to as the Semaphone Relay Plus product set and how that relates specifically to remote workers and the situation we find ourselves in at the moment. And then we'll go through a demonstration at the end. So it won't all be PowerPoint slides. So we're going to spend a little bit of time going through a live demo to show you that product in action. Just to speak a little bit about the subject matter that we want to go through today, and really starting with something that's been going on for some time, and I'm sure that you're all very aware of the general shift over the last few years in particular, but it has been going on for longer, around the move to Omnichannel. And what we mean by that is you have the traditional bricks and mortar, the storefronts, which has been a long-standing way of engaging with customers. And then over the last 20 years, we've had the e-commerce steadily becoming more and more dominant. And over the last 3 to 5 years, actually, e-commerce has really taken off, and that has affected the way that everything is occurring, especially when it comes to payments. So those two have been well established. But what we are seeing now is an increasing desire to actually engage with organizations through multiple methods. So not just through e-commerce and storefronts and voice-based contact centers, but increasingly what we're seeing into that now is social media. We're seeing people not just use PCs, but obviously tablets and smartphones, etc., as well as the traditional storefronts, telephone and websites in order to be e-commerce. So this has been going on for some time. I'm sure you're all well aware of this. Sabio is a market leader in helping merchants and contact centers deal with the challenges that Omnichannel presents, keeping track of customers across multiple engagement channels, being able to do that through contact centers in an efficient manner. And this is something which has been part of any contact center supervisor manager sort of job description for quite some time now, how to deal with this constantly moving and set of channels which customers want to engage over. What we've noticed over the last couple of months, of course, is that the storefront there has become inaccessible in many ways and across many verticals. And really that has shined a light on some aspects of this omnichannel approach, where a lot more people are now having to use other channels. Now the storefront is not accessible. And it's really shined a light on how people are being prepared for that, both from a customer and from a contact center perspective, from both sides of the coin. It's moved people into those other channels all the more dramatically. And that has had an effect on the other side as well. So that explains sort of the customer change over the years moving towards omnichannel that we're all aware of. But the other side of that is the contact center themselves. The last couple of months has really put a focus on how remote working can be dealt with on the contact center side when those customers choose to engage. And there's been a general shift towards remote working now for many years. For some of us, this has been a way of life for quite some time. But over the last 5 or 10 years, as the technology has improved, as commuting just gets more expensive and more congested, there has been a general shift in attitude to make remote working more accessible, more of a part of different roles and responsibilities. So jobs that weren't utilizing remote working 10 years ago are starting to do so, and it's becoming part of any corporate HR policy about how people can work and do flexi working. There are many studies on this. But we've chosen a couple here. The sources will be on the slides. But we have about 2/3 of UK employees now are convinced that flexible working is something that will be part of all of our future lives. The other third are going to be doing jobs which don't naturally allow them to do remote working. 2.8 million employees working from home. That number was last year, so clearly does not include our current circumstances. So if we did that again today, that number would be considerably higher, orders of magnitude are higher, I would suspect. So that was 2 million employees even before we entered the lockdown circumstances that we're in. Right now today, I would imagine that number is much, much higher. And 84% of businesses globally are reporting that the current lockdown, the COVID-19 crisis, has had a disruptive effect upon their business. And the move to remote working, now that we can't get to the office, is one of the key parts of that disruption. And how businesses have been able to deal with that, how they've been able to enable remote workers to continue to do their jobs has been a key part of those conversations. And contact centers are a very important part of that. So as those contact centers are still attempting to deal with the omni-channel preferences of their end customers, having to do that with remote workers, not just within bricks and mortar contact center buildings. So the two challenges combine. And while they're dealing with all of that, contact centers attempting to deal with remote workers, omni-channel customers who are having to adapt themselves, we cannot forget the security controls that we have to adhere to. And the security controls are very well known. PCI DSS for credit card payments has been around now for well over 10 years. GDPR obviously came out over 12 months ago. That is now a daily part of all our lives. And we have seen some of the initial fines coming out of the ICO for GDPR being quite significant. PSD2 is the other one there, which has an effect on the UK, so the Payment Services Directive 2. And then obviously ISO standards is something that we've been doing for many years now, and the protection of personal identifiable information is a key part of what ISO standards focus on. So when we're talking about remote workers, when we're talking about omnichannel, all of these security requirements, all of these data regulations still exist. Still have to adhere to those, can't forget about them. We just need to make sure that whatever we do for the remote workers, for the omnichannel, continue to adhere to these security and data regulation controls. And that does provide complexity. So whereas we may have simple technical solutions for having someone work from home, having to do that while obeying PCI DSS and GDPR regulations adds complexity to those solutions and to those workarounds. And the reason people can't forget about them is, of course, that data breaches are mission critical. A data breach can be extraordinarily expensive, reputationally, it can be catastrophic. It is simply something that companies now cannot afford to happen, have to be avoided at all costs. So even while attempting to move to a remote worker situation, need to bear in mind that you can't leave the back door open and risk a data breach while attempting to put the tools in hands of remote workers. So all of this is happening, and with remote workers in particular, we can imagine what some of those security challenges are going to be. With a contact center, you can make a contact center PCI DSS compliant, and you can do that by establishing clean rooms. You can do pause and resume, and you can put all of those workarounds in place. There is really no way of achieving that with someone that's working out of their home. There's a complete lack of physical security. So there's no CCTV, there's no card key in, card key out options. All of those things that you would include as part of your best practices in a contact center are no longer feasible when you have someone who's operating out of their home office. Wi-Fi networks are a common weak point with default passwords. There's no way of checking for rogue access points, etc., etc. So operating over Wi-Fi and broadband is very difficult to secure with a home worker. Unauthorized viewing of data. So housemates, relatives, visitors, anyone that's in that house that is not an employee of the company. There is potential for mishaps of PCs being left unlocked, people inadvertently seeing screens, etc., etc. It doesn't necessarily need to be deliberate. Accidents do happen, and in home environments, it's very difficult to know who can see data. Unsecured devices. If you're doing it from a company laptop, that's great. You can lock that down, deny administration access, etc. But working from home, very often that there are allowances made to use different telephone devices, maybe use a home PC through a VPN connection. There's a lot more complexity about what devices are going to be used if the workforce doesn't have laptops which have been pre-configured and pre-secured prior to sending someone to work from home. And you do get, unfortunately, even in times like this, the fraudsters don't take any time off. They are aware of everything that's happening. They know people are in uncommon working environments, and they will take advantage. So you do get scams, you do get fraudsters attempting to take advantage of the fact that everyone is in a disrupted environment. And with remote workers in particular, even when we're not in a lockdown situation like now, remote workers are one of those weak points. They're an attack profile, an attack vector into a contact center. And fraudsters and scammers will actually try to exploit that. So coming into that, how do we then deal with it? So we've got remote workers. We've got those remote workers as part of a contact center. They are contact center agents. They are dealing with multiple channels with their end customers, trying to give them the same customer journey, the same customer satisfaction, same customer experience that they used to do when they were in a contact center environment, but now attempting to do that remotely. And a key part of that for many, many contact centers is the ability to take payments. So whereas doing that in a secured contact center environment was one thing, now need to take a payment with that contact center agent being in an unsecured home environment, but we still want to give that end customer the journey that they're used to. And we need to bear in mind that that end customer, especially right under these circumstances at the moment, might also be dealing with a channel that they're also not as familiar with. And that's where we get to Card Protect Relay Plus. And as Ben said at the beginning, Relay Plus is the Semaphone solution for the digital channels. So many of you will know Semaphone for our voice products that we've been on the market with for 10 years now, the DTMF capture and masking solutions. But for the last 12 months, we have been bringing out to the market and developing Relay Plus. And Relay Plus is a method of delivering secure payments over digital channels. And it's been designed in such a way that the same solution can be used across any digital channel that your contact center may be utilizing. So the most common ones that we see at the moment are probably the three on the left: email, text message, and web chat. Those are the ones that we see every single day. Social media is coming along fast behind there. Lots of contact centers use social media as a way of exchanging, as contacting their end customers. But social media as a method of doing payments is something which is gathering pace very quickly. Mobile commerce, I think we're all familiar with that and all probably use that on a regular basis. And then you have chatbots and AI, which sits very much in combination with the web chat in particular, but also with text messaging and email. So the solution needs to be able to work alongside those automated solutions in a seamless fashion, so that taking payments does not mean that you have to abandon your chatbots and your AIs, but you can still get all the benefits that you enjoy from those. QR codes, this is because it doesn't matter how far we seem to go with technology, we still have printed mail. That is still a key part of some organizations' methods of communicating with their end customers. And that QR code can be used to embed a URL and to print it onto printed mail, so that anyone with a smartphone can point their phone at that printed mail and that way actually access Relay Plus with that communication channel actually having been a letter, hence the post on the right hand side there. So the benefits of being able to use Relay Plus across these channels. Relay Plus is completely software as a service. So unlike the voice products that you've seen from Semaphone in the past, there are no need for Semaphone to be involved in the telephone calls in any way. Relay Plus is completely 100% software as a service hosted in AWS. There is no local hardware, there is no local software either for the customer or for the agent. The entire thing is API driven in the cloud. That gives us some fantastic flexibility. So it means that the deployment options are extensive. It's all API driven, so there are multiple ways of integrating and deploying this into a contact center. It can be up and running in a matter of days because there is nothing to deploy. So it is configuration and deployment choices only. So the deployment options can allow for a system to be up and running in a matter of days. Because it's software as a service, you get the sort of benefits you would expect from that commercially. So you don't have to have long-term contracts. There are options to have pay-as-you-go if you want to just use it to try it out. And you can also switch it on and switch it off, obviously, without the long-term contracts. It is easier to enable and disable the service very quickly. So these are all the benefits of having it as a digital 100% software as a service solution that can be accessed by the contact center. So a little bit about how it works before we get into the demonstration, just to give you a bit of background to set the context for what you're about to see. So the first step is you're going to be requesting a secure link from Semaphone Relay Plus. So I'm going to show you in a minute an out-of-the-box solution that will enable you to do that will require no integration to any of your CRM or contact center products at all. You can run it 100% independently and we'll go through a demonstration of that. But what this does allow is, if you don't want to use the off-the-shelf solution, you can actually use the APIs, which are all published and available. All the documentation is available through a website. You can use that to payment enable any platform you may have, so web chat platform, CRM, etc. And the initial step will be when the contact center agent gets to the point where they need to take a payment, they are going to press a button which will request a link from Relay Plus. You then send that link out to the customer via any method that you choose. So text message and email are the most common, but again, web chat and in combination with chatbots and AI, you could send that link out into the customer side of a web chat session. You could send it over social media. You could do it through IM. So we've already seen examples of doing IM through LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp. All of those could be used simply to transport that link out to a customer. When that link gets to the customer by any of those methods, they are going to then click on that link and open it up. That could be on a PC, it could be on a tablet, although the most common method that we see every day is someone to simply do that on a smartphone. Once they open that, the page in front of them is actually hosted by Relay Plus. So as they enter in their credit card details, they are providing that directly to Relay Plus. So those credit card details never go anywhere near your applications, your contact center, or any of your systems or networks. All of that credit card data goes directly to Relay Plus up in the cloud. But real time, Relay Plus provides status information back to that originating application to let it know how the customer is going on. So it's not just an e-commerce solution with a fire and forget link for the customer to put their details in. This is a contact center solution that is able to provide real-time updates back to the contact center agents or the contact center platform, telling it step by step how the customer is getting on with entering those card details, so that the agents, the AI or the chatbots is able to help them along through that process, provide support, and maintain constant communication. So that, in a nutshell, is what Relay Plus is. It's very straightforward and simple, but it does provide an enormous amount of flexibility because it is completely API driven and completely software as a service. And what we're going to do now is actually take you through a off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box version that requires no integration at all to any of your contact center products. And this will give you an idea as well that if you did choose to integrate it using the APIs, the sort of things that you could achieve if you were to combine this with a payments application or a CRM that you might be using in your contact center today. So I'm going to switch over to my demonstration platform. And this is an out-of-the-box user interface that we have for Relay Plus. And the opening page I have here is just a dashboard. And this just shows the number of payment links that we've used, the consumers involved, etc. But for the purposes of today, I'm not going to go through all of the historical reporting and everything else. I am going to focus on the actual links themselves to give you an idea of what the agent experience might be and what the end customer's experience is. So I've gone to links on the left-hand side in this user interface. The lower part of the screen is historical links. So these are links which we've sent out earlier today. So you can see I've been quite busy practicing for the webinar. So there's a few links there with my name attached. It gives you some highlights at the top: links generated, successful payments, transactions, gives you some idea of what's been going on. But the key button is up here, generate payment link. So the contact center agent has been in conversation with the customer. They got to the point where they need to take a payment and they click on the generate payment link. And it pops up a short form. And in that form, we're going to provide the headline details that we need to do a payment. So my browser is recalling things that I've entered before. So for speed, I'm going to put in my name, put in my email address. I can put in any test I need. There we go, we can put in anything. Mobile defaults to the UK, but we've got all of the mobile options in there. I'm going to use my mobile telephone number as part of this demonstration. So that is my my mobile number. The payment service provider is obviously key because payment service providers aren't something that organizations can simply swap at a moment's notice. So we have already pre-configured all of the major payment service providers in the UK. I've got 3 of them here pre-programmed into my demonstration. And as part of the setup process for this, we would ask you who your payment service provider is, and that would be the option that would appear here to the agent. So for the purposes of the demonstration, I'll pick a popular UK payment service provider, which will be WorldPay. And currency defaults to pounds at the moment, but in here you've got euros, dollars. So if you have a contact center that is supporting international customers, and you have a payment service provider that is providing multiple currency support for you, you can define what currency the payment's going to be in. And then the amounts, quite possibly the most important field of them all, how much are we going to be charging? And then how do we want to send the link? And in this out-of-the-box version, text message and email are available by default. You can send it by both. So if you're talking to somebody and you don't want to have to specify, you can send them a text message and an email simultaneously, and that covers all of your bases. And you can also select none. And I'll come back to what happens when we do that after we've shown one of these demos. So I'm going to click on SMS. So I'm going to send it by text message. And this is actually going to send then a text message to my phone. And what I'm going to do is call up a screen of my phone. So this is my live mobile phone. So hopefully no one sends me any other text messages while I'm here. And you'll notice here, I've just got a text message when I sent that. So when I click on my texts, I've got a new text message. You'll see some historical ones from earlier. But as soon as I click on that link, pops over to Safari. And what you can see there is the customer-facing screen. So over here on the customer-facing screen, you can now see the data that's coming up. So on my phone, I'm going to enter my details. So I can type it in manually like that. But actually, these days, most people will have some pre-configured card details, and I can simply pay with Face ID. So that's a dummy card number which we can put in. Security code you always have to enter manually. And when I hit on make payment now as a customer, I get a thank you success message as the end customer. And what you will have noted as I went through that process as the end customer is that the agent here on the screen was getting information fed back to them about how the customer was getting along. So that agent could be doing other wrap-up tasks, other items that they needed to be getting along with while that was happening with a safe knowledge that the customer was moving through the process. 100% payment successful, everyone's happy. I can close that down. And what you'll see here is the information that we've been providing back through that process has now been captured. We can see that the transaction was successful. And if I just scroll over a little bit, I can even view the details. So I can go back and just have a look. Okay, so that payment at 1:27 this afternoon, what was that all about? And I can see the order references in here. I can see the payment link that was used. This is actually what was sent to the customer via the text message. And I've got the name and address and everything else in there, just a click away. The other way of doing it, so text message and email is great. That's out of the box. That covers an awful lot of what we're being asked about these days. But the other way of doing it, I'm just going to use pre-configured things for speed. You can also click on none. So if you want to use the out-of-the-box solution, because you have a need and speed is of the essence, and you need to get this up and running quickly, you can click on None and generate a payment link, but instead of sending it to the customer, you now get this copy link button. So when you click on copy link, that puts it onto the clipboard, and then when you can send that to the customer via any method you like. So you could simply copy and paste that into web chat, for example, if you have a web chat platform, and that link will go out to the customer so that they can click on it. And as soon as they do that, you'll see we get a very similar page to what we were looking at before. So that copy link just means that out of the box with no integration, you could overlay this into an existing payment process that you have, and be able to send that to a customer via web chat or any other method that you may already have as part of your solution. From all of that, then we can get the information that we need, the links and everything that come back. Payments pending. So that one now, that link is pending because I didn't fill in the details. So this is telling me I've got a couple of links which are actually outstanding. But we always get the updates that the payment link was successfully generated, etc., etc. In the out-of-the-box solution, you can then do settings. So you can set the contact details of who's in charge of it. You can use the usernames, etc., etc. And the dashboard there simply gives you the high-level view of everything that's going on. So that's a very quick demonstration of the sort of thing that you can achieve and what the out-of-the-box solution looks like. Being able to send those links out to a customer, have them enter those details directly into their smartphone, tablets, PC, doesn't matter. However they choose to open that link, they just have to pop their card details in. And if they have those card details already saved as part of the browser information, they can actually just go ahead and pop those straight in. And that is actually a faster process than even going ahead and doing that through DTMF capture and masking. So what I'm going to do there is pause and see if there are any questions.
We've had a couple of questions, Alan.
Okay.
One, if you send out multiple links or a link through multiple mediums, how does that work commercially?
Okay, so one of the examples that you saw there in the demonstration is we actually had the option to, by default, actually send it out 2 ways simultaneously, which is text message and email. But you can send it as many ways as you like once you've generated the link. Commercially, the charge per link is for the generation of the link. So if you generate a link, that's a charge, but you can then send that link as many times as you like out to the end customer. So you can send it multiple times or by multiple methods, but you only pay for the link once, and that's when it's generated. It's worth saying at that point that there are methods then of making sure that that link can only be used once. So you can control the number of times that it can be opened, and of course, most importantly, once it's been opened, you can control the number of times that someone can use it to make a payment. So you don't have someone accidentally using the same link twice to make the same payment twice.
Yes, and we've got another one here. Can somebody pay less or more than the amount that's been added to the link?
They can do, but the idea is that the agent would pre-configure the amount, and that would go through, and obviously they'll be in conversation with the agent in a live chat or a live conversation scenario to be able to agree on that amount.
Okay, and we have another one here about can I use my own email and SMS server with the product?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a key one. If you have your own email, you have your own text message capability, that's going to come with some branding included as well. So you'll have your own telephone numbers involved when that text message gets sent out. That may have, there may have been a lot of thought gone into that. Likewise with email, you have your own domain name, etc., on your own email servers, and you'll be wanting to reuse those so that when the customer receives the text message and the email, they can see that's come from the same source as they would have expected from any message that may have come from you. So it is perfectly okay to leverage your own existing email and SMS capabilities. With the SMS capability that's built into the out-of-the-box solution, you can use that as much as you like, and you simply pay a small fee for each text message that you send. But that just means that if you don't have an SMS capability available today, you can use the one built into the tool in the meantime, just to enable that payment channel. But absolutely, SMS gateways or email servers that you currently have as part of your engagement with end customers, you can absolutely configure those to be used to send the payment links from Relay Plus.
Okay, we have an existing Semaphone customer here saying they would like to use the service and wondering if there's a migration path from DTMF masking. I think the answer to that is probably these are two standalone products and probably complement each other, but that sounds like it might be one for a bit more discussion.
Yeah, it is one for probably a bit more discussion that we could take offline with them. I do agree that the two are standalone products. So the voice product has obviously come with a number of deployment methods in the UK over the last few years, which have been very popular. Relay Plus deliberately is completely software as a service. So it is hosted in the cloud, and as a result, is a standalone product in its own right. You don't have to use it with the voice products, but the two, as you say, do complement each other. What we could do then, of course, is from what we know of the contact center of an existing customer, that would enable us to be able to advise them on how to use Relay Plus in the most complementary manner. And we could certainly have a look at using the same payment service provider, potentially the same merchant IDs, that there are things there that could be common between the two approaches. But I do think they complement each other extremely well. The voice solution using DTMF capture and masking, but the same agent taking telephone calls might also be doing web chat at different times of the day, and that's where Relay Plus would overlap potentially even with the same contact center agent. There's also there obviously some redundancy as well. So if you have a digital channel capable of taking payments through the cloud, you've got a voice channel taking payments over the telephone line, those two things are independent, and they do act as a backup to each other as well. So there's a lot of benefits to using the two things simultaneously for any existing Semaphone customers that might be out there using the Voice Plus product.
Okay, we've got one more about can I download reports on the links that have been generated?
Yes, you can, and obviously with this sort of solution, being able to keep historical reporting is very important. The payment service provider will also have their own reports, and there's nothing about Relay Plus that would interfere with those. So we would use the same merchant IDs, the same PSP accounts the customers are using today. So we wouldn't interfere with their reporting tools that they get from their payment service provider. But in addition, Relay Plus, as well as the real-time updates that you saw on the screen there, that the agent can immediately see what they've been doing historically that day. You can also then take reports on the status of all of the generated links, and you can export that into a CSV file. That way you can import it into Excel, and that's a standard format to be able to import into any other MI tools that you might be using. And it's a good way of counterbalancing then checks with the payment service providers reports for reconciliation and accounting purposes.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions? Anybody got a question? Please, please send it through. I think we might be just about there, Alan, but thank you very much for that.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and anybody is interested in learning more or think maybe colleagues of theirs might be interested, this webinar will be up on Sabio's website by the end of the day. And if anybody needs any information or has any other questions, please drop me an email, and I can either refer those to Semaphone or come back to you directly. But thank you all very much for your time. Thank you.